Hello and greetings and welcome once again to NatStrat Conversations. My name is Pankaj Saran and I welcome all of you once again to a new episode. As you know, those of you who are following us, that we've been covering different aspects of geopolitics, but today we have chosen the topic of technology security to discuss what makes national security such a comprehensive and complex enterprise. Technology security is something which is increasingly going to become critical for the preservation of India's overall security, and this requires highly specialized attention, skill sets, and also policy formulations. To discuss this, we have today with us one of the most renowned and eminent and qualified persons to talk to us about technology security. Today we have Dr. V Kamakoti, who's no stranger to the technology world. He is director of the IIT Madras. He has been director of IIT Madras for almost 2 years now. He is member of the National Security Advisory Board by virtue of his deep expertise on matters relating to cybersecurity, to semiconductors, and to internet resilience. And he is basically a passionate mathematician and I believe also a lover of Carnatic music and even a singer. So let me introduce Professor Kamakotti.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. I know you're based in Chennai,
Yes.
and we've caught you just at the right time. So thank you very much. We have worked a lot together. So I want to begin our discussion this time with first a little bit about yourself, because I think everyone would want to know who is the a person behind the name, how you reached here where you did, what was the passion in your life, and then I want to talk to you about the IIT Madras. What is the flow of students going out from India to the United States? And also very interested to know from you the whole project about IIT Zanzibar. But first, let's start with a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Pankaj. It has been a great time that we had been together and we've been working on some of the very important aspects of national security. About me, I am basically from deep south Tamil Nadu. I belong to a village called Vishnupuram, Mudikontan in Kumbakonam, near Kumbakonam. It's in Tanjavur district. So my ancestors were basically agriculturists and educationists.
Okay.
So I have a rural school, which is more than 110 years old.
Oh.
And then the first 3-4 years I spent in my village, it had a very deep impact on agriculture and also rural scenarios. So that has come out at a very early age.
Right.
Then I came back to Chennai. My father is a professor of Sanskrit, University of Madras. And so I did all my schooling at Chennai. And then I attempted JEE in 1985, could not get through. So I just then joined University of Madras, Venkateshwara College of Engineering for my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering.
Okay.
It was the first batch of Computer Science and Engineering almost everywhere across India,
Right.
in the undergraduate level. Then I wrote GATE exam and joined IIT Madras for MS. I was very passionate about doing research.
Right.
Then continued to do my PhD. At that time, my Guruji was the Shankaracharya of Kanchi. Paramacharya actually told me, don't cross the ocean. You stay here and you should serve the country.
Fantastic. So I believe you don't travel overseas.
Yeah, I don't have a passport. Okay.
Incredible.
So then, he said, you should all take it as a vow. And I took a vow in front of him and then, so we stuck to it. So after that, I went to Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, worked in the Supercomputer Education Center, where I got very fascinated about parallel processing and architectures. A very, very big center there. Then came back to Chennai Institute of Mathematical Sciences under Department of Atomic Energy. Did more of theoretical computer science. I'm more of a theory guy at that point of time.
Right.
Then I had a very short stint, around 2 years in the industry. There was the ATI Research Silicon Valley who came and set up a branch office in Chennai, and I was heading their processor verification system, where I got deep interested into processing.
Right.
Joined IIT in 2001 as an assistant professor. then became associate, then professor, then chairman of JE, which I failed anyway. Then took over as associate dean of industrial consultancy sponsored research, and then as director on January 2022. So this is my very...
This is fantastic. What a career. I mean, from very humble beginnings,
Yes.
you have... And then you've come onto the national stage because of being honored and recognized by being made a member of the National Security Advisory Board.
Yes.
And I know personally that in that capacity, the amount you have contributed to, firstly, raising awareness about security aspects of technology, and secondly, also influencing policy. And you've become so deeply involved in the whole technology security architecture
Yes.
and creation of institutions, etc. So tell me, can you tell me, I mean, based on your own experience of cyber security and your competencies in internet, you know, we started with the whole problem of trying to ensure indigenization of some critical technologies. That was the first step in ensuring that India has a minimum level of technology security. That means sheer availability of technology, because there is a rapid revolution in technologies. So how do you assess the contributions that you have been able to make, let's say, in the telecom sector or the cyber security sector?
Yeah, so the whole issue today is all about India as a country owning some of these standards, owning some of the technologies. Unless we own, that Swatantriyam is not there.
Yeah.
That independence will not come. And that is one of the things that we have been pushing. Like you also mentioned about what is new about IIT Madras. So let me just start from IIT Madras and come here.
Sure.
So one of the important things that we have been pushing in the last couple of years very strongly, and last 20 years IIT Madras focus was on translational research. Like when a research comes, like you need to make it into a startup, you need to make it into a patent, you need to make it into a technology which is usable and used for the society.
Correct.
So last 2 years we had been taking that up. We had built a very good foundation for it, thanks to both my immediate predecessor and his predecessor, Professor Anand and Professor Bhaskar. We had been pushing this very strongly as an institute, and we have set up probably Asia's largest academia research park at IIT Madras. We have more than 400 startups now, and then we have many other big players, like many of them they're having their own company there, and very strong academia industry collaboration has also started up.
Fantastic.
And I believe that this 15 years now, 15, 17 years of effort that we have put in will form the basic building block of what our Honorable Prime Minister says, Atmanirbhar India.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that we found out, especially when the 5G where we have been really pushing hard. See, let me just tell you the 5G story, which will be a very for the viewers.
It's a good case study.
Good case, very good case study. See, there are things that India needs, and which is very India specific. When I go, there are a lot of students who are doing in IIT who are basically wanting to become entrepreneurs. So if I ask an Indian student why you want to become an entrepreneur, very heartening to note that that they say, because I want to solve this problem for the society. Right? We had a startup which actually can completely eradicate manual scavenging. Right? They had a robo which will do septic tank cleaning. And that robot looks very simple, but it had 2-3 PhDs and 2 patents that had come out of it. Right? So that way now, when the students are really focused on solving national problems, there are certain national interest in front of us. So coming now to the 5G. See, in different parts of the world, the definition of rural from a communication perspective is I am going at 150 km/h car on a national highway.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's a rural. Correct. I should get uninterrupted internet supply. So this is the view of rural at some places.
Correct.
But when we look at definition of rural here, I have 140 crore in which majority population is in rural.
Absolutely.
I travel at 10 km/h.
Absolutely.
But I want my pump set to work. I want so many automation that I want to control and work. So our requirement or our definition of rural and how we are going to use communication in the rural is different from how the other parts of the world wants it to be used. So keeping this in mind, our team comprising multiple institutions, multiple IITs, Samir and CVIT and some organizations, they formed a standard for 5G called 5GI.
Correct.
Which is basically low mobility, large coverage. We call it LMLC.
Correct.
And they got one very interesting modulation technique for doing this. What it will do is that in a rural place, I'll be moving at a very slow speed, but I will have a large coverage.
Correct.
So by this, what happens is the coverage actually doubles when compared to the corresponding technology. When the coverage doubles, that means I'm able to cover more area, I'm able to cover this. So this we wanted to actually become part of the 5G standard.
Correct.
Right, and then that was a very big, about how hard was it is.
Huge achievement.
And we had to go all the way up to the 3GPP and other things, and it needed government level support. Government supported, DOT supported, NSCS supported, and a lot of things happened, and finally we got that. So the big lesson that we learned here is that if it is not there, then we will not have that part as a part of the international standard. And then what would have happened? We have to develop certain India-specific standard, and whether other equipments will become compatible to it. So many issues would have come. So one of the important things that every youngster who is going to view this must aspire is that they look at the society around them. They should look at solutions for it, patent these solutions, and also try as much as possible to make it part of a global standard.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I think unless you do not have ownership, as you said, intellectual ownership of a particular technology, you will always be vulnerable to someone else.
Correct.
So this whole, problem of supply chains, the problem of trusted supply chains is something that you have dealt with and we have all dealt with.
Yes.
And this, if you remember, even on the 4G, there were lots of issues within government, and the initial resistance was there about the fact that people had got used to a certain way of life in terms of getting equipment and I think what you drove the agenda on this indigenization of critical technologies today has been accepted. And I think today there were so many doubts, but today, at least on the 5G and 5GI, we have the confidence today to go forward in the telecom sector.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we also set up the mechanism for identifying trusted sources of telecom.
Yes. And that's very, very important today. So when it is something like, I would also like to talk about the indigenous mobile operating system.
Yeah.
So the mobile is like a home, right? And suppose Pankaj, this is your house, but there'll be 4 or 5 strangers sitting there. You should live with them, right? How will you live with them? So this is the point, like this default apps that come with some of the proprietary operating systems. Now, we need to have our own no default apps, and we need to own that phone, and we need to have complete control over what is happening on the phone. And suppose an organization is giving you a phone, the organization must have complete control over what you are doing with that phone, right? Because it's their phone, it's their property. Correct. And so now, as a digital digital world now unfolds, and then we have digital homes in this form. It's a virtual thing. I think the security becomes much more important. So security is not something only for strategic purposes. Security is also for common man purpose, because when there is a disaster, we need to know how to recover in disaster recovery, or in terms of even a calamity, etc., riots, etc. There's a need for us to become resilient, and technology must be in that place.
So in that context, I think you also focusing a lot on internet resilience. Internet security, because without that, nothing, you're vulnerable across all sectors, all devices, all platforms. So I think there also it's an important issue.
Internet resilience is important today because we have so many digital initiatives. And if one of these internet fails, or internet fails to respond, all the digital facilities you have given will completely collapse. And today we are also looking at reducing our digital divide. So that's where, when the 5G spectrums are now going, it's also very important that we find these people actually going to villages and implementing 5G. And, that resource, spectrum is a natural resource.
Correct.
and that needs to be completely utilized.
Correct.
And once it is utilized, then only we can get over this digital divide,
Yeah.
and people can start doing this. So everywhere we see that digital divide. Even today, if I go to my village, I'm not getting good 4G coverage. We are almost so many years into 4G. So somewhere in your urban environment, giving very good coverage, it doesn't solve the problem for India. So these are some very important, interesting things that we need to look at. Okay.
And you're also behind the development of India's first microprocessor, the Shakti. Isn't that also, tell us a little bit about that, because the microprocessor is really today at the heart of our modern day life.
Yes.
It's your mobile, it's your laptop, it's your
mic,
it's your gaming, it's
automobile.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Your life will stop if you do not have microprocessors and semiconductors, of course, which you have designed or you control.
Yeah. So today, just quick look at the studio. I'm sure there are more than 20-25 microprocessors inside the studio. Now, I can prove if I can open and show you. Right. So very important. So this we started in around 2012, where Dr. Kalam said, 2020 we need to make. I have a vision 2020. Do something which is not abstract. Essentially, he meant don't tell stories. Do something which is actually implementable in his own language. He said, and I'm very inspired by Kalam for many reasons. And there we said, okay, what can we do? So I'm basically a computer architect. I had some very good introduction to processor architecture in my short industry stint and also at Indian Institute of Science when I was doing my postdoc. So we wanted to do an indigenous processor, which is again without any encumbrance, right? So people should not have any.
Sure.
And then if there is some encumbrance and there is a necessity for us to reveal what we are doing, then it doesn't suit our purpose. So we would like to have our own processor, which we have configured and it works according to what we want. So in this direction, we started the Shakti program at IIT Madras, and then we first started with open power from IBM, but then the whole thing did not work because there's a lot of legacy that we need to learn. And then we started with RISC-V. RISC-V is Berkeley, MIT started this, and we were the third institution to join that bandwagon. So 2013, we made the decision, okay, we need to make an indigenous microprocessor, a family of processor that can go in this mic, there'll be a very small processor, that laptop, there'll be a little more bigger processor. But when you go to a supercomputer, you have a very high thug processor, right? So that essentially a family of microprocessor, we thought we should start doing it. And it took me around 4 years to convince people and get the first funding. But once the funding came, thanks to MIT, MIT funded the first project and second project also, 2 projects. And then we made around 3 chips now we have successfully made at our semiconductor laboratory, 180 nanometer, which is working. So that's a thing. It's a processor. And then one we taped out at Intel Oregon Fab around 22 nanometer.
Otherwise, you would be dependent on basically Intel and Pentium and all these people.
Till now we are dependent, but now we know we have a way.
Yeah.
So at least I could tell very frankly now, with all the success we had, one thing that we proved that there is an ecosystem in India which can enable processor development, not at a MNC level. Intel and other people have their very big offices here, and maybe they are developing very high-end processor. Many part of it is developed in India.
I read in some newspapers that there was some resistance from Indian industry to use Indian microprocessors because they claim that it is not tested and so on. I mean, is there some resistance, in industry?
No, the main issue today is we don't have the semiconductor chip in place.
Correct.
Like the semiconductor chip should be available. And now there are multiple startups who are working. We also conducted with MIT's support, we conducted this Swadeshi microprocessor challenge. We had 10,000 people who registered for it. And then 500 finalists, some 100 finalists and some 30 full final. And we did quite a considerable amount of work, and that also gave us confidence that this microprocessor will not just be a toy one, but it can be used for a lot of purposes. Now, at least now 5 to 6 startups are working on those type of designs, and I will believe that there's enough market now. If you ask why this project did not succeed, say 15 years before, so much digitalization was not there. So much customization also not there. So everywhere there's only one processor. It was a general purpose processor used for everything. Now with all the low power form factor, so many other requirements, different functionality requirements, there's a need for making an ecosystem where I can configure a processor what I need rather than what they offer. So
the market is there.
So the big market is there, and I think we are on the right track. At least we have five, 6 companies who are working on making chips using Shakti and its derivatives. But then I'm sure once they have successful chips, people will basically adopt it. So there are 2 things. When you look at microprocessor, it's a brain behind every system.
Exactly.
It is executing the program. If somebody has to hack the system, they have to hack this microprocessor or any programmable entity there. I think so that way microprocessor will become important. And more than that, microprocessor, the problem here is that to find out what we want it to do, if it is doing, is a easy problem. But the other problem is it should not do what we don't want it to do. Right? And what we don't want it to do is a very bigger one. So that's a bigger deal there. Yes.
No, but then this brings us to this whole question of this the supply chain.
Yes.
We were so used to importing, and that was seen to be, but now the realization has come that technology security means both things. It means having the technology and owning it, the one you need, and secondly, ensuring that the technology, whether it is cyber or internet or a microprocessor, is by itself secure. So this how to safeguard some of our critical strategic sectors and how to look at the value chain or the supply chain, that also you have played a big role in ensuring that whatever goes into our devices and everything is secure.
So the most important thing is the supply chain. So if you even look at making of a chip, I think there are 20-25 different stages that are there. And each may be very cheap, or each may be the specialization of many places. And so it is not at a single place that the entire chip is being done. In the case of semiconductors. Right. So our dependency on a particular, more than whether we need to first becoming independent is a longer story. But at least understanding where we are dependent is very, very important.
That's right.
And that's where a complete understanding of the supply chain essentially becomes very crucial. So where a particular chip is made, or where a product is made, what is it?
So that brings us to this question of the whole ecosystem of testing labs, standardization, the right talent pool. I mean, you also need people, right, who are equipped to be the policemen and the adjudicators and the referees of what technology is coming, from where it is coming, and is it secure, isn't it?
Yes.
That also is.
So there are 3, as you rightly pointed out, there are 3 important things. One is, first is standardization. We need to be part of a lot of standards, and we need to also understand that when things are going to happen inside India, what is the standard that need to be followed? And there need to be even compatibility. Today people say, oh, I'm having one device which is, today I don't want it to, I don't believe that it is trusted. No, I have this device to make it, for me to run the business, expand my business, I need to buy similar kind of devices. And if there is no compatibility type of standardization there, then I'll be buying the same untrusted devices. Correct. So one of the things that we need to bring out is a standardization, so that, okay, do you want to expand this part of the business? Now you have this device, so these are all the devices that will be compatible to this. So bring those devices. So that way we need to have a standard by which anything that we achieve, there should be more than one option in front of us. Then only independence comes. Like I may not own it, but if I have 2 options, right? Like so, if you just look at our human body, except for heart, many of the things are in multiple. That's why heart attack, there's maximum amount of death. Heart treatment, there is quite significant cost. So anything one will kill you. So this is one part, the first vertical. The second vertical is that I need sandboxes or test beds where I must be in a position to evaluate and see what is inside it. So it's not reverse engineering, but from a security angle, I want to ensure that this device will not malfunction at some point. The third one, as you rightly pointed out, would be the skill development. People should understand this.
Correct.
That's where the academic institution can play a role in all these three. And we are trying to do, if you ask what is new about IIT, we are looking at working on standards. We are also looking at creating a lot of test beds. So we have a test bed for 5G testing. We have a test bed for, many things like even.
No, you're doing fantastic work.
And the last one is skill development also.
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to ask you a little bit also about another sector which you have actually worked on, which is artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And you were the head of the first task force of the government of India. So can you speak a little bit about the AI scenario in India?
Yeah. So AI, if at all AI has to be successful, certainly India will play a role, because for any of the social good that we are looking, like in the recent union budget, Madam Finance Minister has announced 3 centers of excellence, one in agriculture, another in sustainable cities, another in health. Now, so look at these 3, right? These 3 are the most important areas here, and we have the largest population who can generate data for this.
Correct, absolutely.
AI is dead if you don't have good data. AI is just basically about, ChatGPT. When I go and start asking about India, it start talking about, caste, their bias, discrimination, sort. Because I think they are being trained on some data set which are completely, some different view. I actually argued with ChatGPT for more than 4 or 5 hours to make it apologize for that statement.
Oh, I see. My God.
Somewhere it said, I'm sorry, somewhere it came.
Really?
Right? But then the view that they are getting. So what I'm saying is all these AI engines are actually based on some of the data that is available.
Yeah.
So you can easily bias the AI engine by giving a biased data set. So that is also very, very important. And you can't take,
that's a big vulnerability.
That's a big vulnerability. So I can make a data set very difficult, so that you get a different impression altogether.
Right.
So talking about what is India, this is not going to directly affect so many people. If you say India is, there's discrimination in India, we are not going to die. But if you say health, today there's no heart disease and there's heart disease, then you will die. So this life or death is a little more than there's many things here. So when we start putting AI for those things, there's a need for a very, very large data set that is going to be...
Which should be managed properly.
And that is also very important here. So...
and I believe computing power is also critical, right?
Computing power is also critical. So computing power, again, when AI has to succeed, there's something called today language translation. It's very important for our country, right? Because we have more than we have more than close to 2 dozen Indian official languages, and we need to translate it into many things, right? So this large language models require large compute resources, and today those compute resources we are also dependent upon external world for giving us these things. So what we can specialize today in India are the algorithms, techniques, and we have large pool of data. We have the potential to collect this data, very clean data, and once these are available, then I think this can basically be India's AI program can be very successful. But I surely can tell you that if at all the best of the AI in health or AI in agriculture or AI in sustainable cities, the 3 COEs, that the best across the world can come, India will play a very big role. Basically because we hold a lot of data and we have very good AI experts who can evolve these techniques. But we need that compute power for which we'll be dependent.
But we are at the start of the AI revolution. And we have to come in early.
We are coming early, but then we are also looking at being a democracy has a lot more advantages, especially in AI. So then, because people can question on what you are trying to do, etc., and that's very important, that debate. So that opens up a huge topic called responsible AI, where people have to become accountable. I can't just say, oh, AI told me, so I'm making this decision. Absolutely. So there's something called responsible AI, explainable AI. So these things actually are becoming very crucial today. And
so I think the acquisition of these cutting edge technologies, I mean, I would also like to ask you a little bit. I know you are not directly dealing with say space sciences or other forms of other sectors of high technology, or say rare earths or rare minerals, etc. But these are all critical ingredients, right, to guarantee India that level of security on the technological side that we need, isn't it?
Yes.
And are you playing a role in that? I mean, what is your, have you done any survey on how you look at the whole thing? I think there's definitely more awareness.
Yeah, today there's a lot of awareness about many of the critical technologies that
Yeah.
India need today. One is space sector, of course, the great success of Chandrayaan 3.
Correct.
Now that Aditya L1. Very fascinating, very, very heartening note that when they opened tickets for Aditya L1, 10,000 tickets got sold in 7 minutes. Okay.
My God.
That's what the statistics which
Incredible.
some people who went to Sriharikota for witnessing the launch.
Yeah.
So this is awareness that it has created, and so I was part of many, as director IIT Madras, they invited me for many TV shows. The enthusiasm I see in the kids, both at IIT and outside, on especially that landing of the Chandrayaan, it was phenomenal. So it was something which is...
This is something new happening in the country.
Yes,
I don't think we've
new.
Witnessed it like this.
No.
And also because of social media, everyone is seeing everything.
Everything is...
So the demonstration effect is huge.
So I also had an opportunity to talk to many of these aerospace people in IIT Madras. Right? They all now say, "Oh sir, this is much bigger than coding." Right?
Just imagine. Just
I
imagine.
said, See, I am now 55 years old. If I eat one more extra chapati, my stomach goes off. Only 2 is the limit. And as I go more older, 1 will become the limit. So what will you do with money beyond some point? So you should accumulate money that is needed for you. But remaining, you should serve the country. I think a lot of people are motivated thanks to Chandrayaan and Aditya L1. Great job ISRO has done. And this is a real message which reflects what our Honorable PM also is saying about Atmanirbharta, right? Indigenization.
Correct.
This is something like, there is so much in this. I think these 2 examples, I think every education institution, every leader of education institution must use these examples to motivate the kid to become either entrepreneurs or they join some Indian large missions like space or nuclear mission and contribute for the country.
Yeah, no, as I'm listening to you, I feel so happy that technology as a facet of life has today, more than ever before in our history, become so critical in the mind space of national security planners. So it is not just traditional security challenges or threats, but it is even issues like technology, which today are accepted to be a critical part of your overall national security. And that is why, whether it is the academia or experts or the corporates or even public sector, they all have to come together, right? So it has to be a whole of government, whole of nation technology approach. Otherwise, I think we will lag behind. And I mean, if you look at China, for example, the kind of progress it has made, we simply cannot afford.
Absolutely. Atmanirbharta is a collective moral responsibility.
Yeah.
Where industry have to put in, first they have been telling many of the investors saying, if we want Atmanirbharta, first we need Atma Vishwas.
Absolutely.
So trust on our startups.
Absolutely.
Put some money, give them some purchase order. Let them see them grow.
Correct.
Nothing will go wrong if you are just hosting a party you spend in lakhs. Give some money to these people. Let them grow. See them grow. Take equity. Do business. But have something like some more trust on our Indian startups. And that feel if people who hold money, who have money. Money is the most important thing, sir. Fund flow is very important. If that money is paid, and you say that, I will try and reimburse you provided you succeed. After he succeeds, he doesn't need your reimbursement, right? Absolutely. Slightly when you are growing up and they are struggling for money. So, for example, semiconductor startup, if I just want to make it, one of the startup want to make a SoC, a simple system on chip, there are certain intellectual properties that are belonging to the fabs, right? For example, you have this USB drive. There is a 5 that is belonging to the fab. Meaning it has to be characterized in a foundry. So I can't make it, right? So if I just want to buy it, it's already $500,000. So you give, I've generated $1 million VC a fund, and I give some money for that also. But just one simple tape out, one click of a button, I lose. So really, on these niche technologies, if you want to grow, you must provide an infrastructure where these startups can come, experiment, show the prototype up to a very good technology readiness level 8 or 9. To that we should enable, and after that 2 or 3 products they do at that level. After that, things will start flowing. But this is something which,
No, so you have to have a big vision and a big heart.
big
Both.
heart, big heart,
Big heart,
and big confidence on our Indian fellows.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 important
Absolutely,
things. So this was, as a director, I'm facing. There are now lot of startups coming up. Getting them some funding is now becoming an Herculean task, and I'm sure we had very good exit by 2 companies. We just took equity for 4,000, 5,000 rupees, and they returned back 14.5 crores of rupees.
Wow.
Right. So, but these things are happening.
Yeah.
I'm just telling these things, but
Fantastic.
people who have money must put then India as a country.
Absolutely.
And that's why I repeatedly say this Atmanirbharta, independence, is a collective moral responsibility where people who have money can invest in this. There's a high risk, but there'll be a high reward.
No, fantastic. Right. But, this is such a nice thing that you have said. But tell me on the number of students, I'd asked you going to the US. Remember in the olden days, in the 70s and 80s, plane loads would go to, what is the situation
now
today?
It is completely reduced. In IIT Madras, we have last 5 years, only 5% of the students have a foreign address from our alumni office. So the craze for going abroad has reduced. But, people go for research, and a lot of people want to come back.
Yeah.
That also I'm seeing as a positive trend. Another thing, so I also had this notion of brain drain at those days. But it has actually become a brain gain. For example, when we started a semiconductor mission, I'm also involved in this. So for every stage in that semiconductor mission, semiconductor processing, at least if I want to get an idea, there was one IIT Madras alumnus who was specialized in it. There was one IIT Madras alumnus who have run a fab for 180 nanometer for 20 years. So the people were able to come and tell us some advice on, this is good, this is bad. So that way, we had people who had gone abroad and who had worked on the niche technology and ready to come back and contribute to our country. This is also a good trend. In that way, we have gained some brain. So the brain drain actually became a brain gain in some aspects. But today we are seeing increasing thing onto more of IT jobs, and I've been very vocal saying core people should continue in their core job. And that I've been telling
I've read your interviews,
again and again. But I think the interest in entrepreneurship, especially at IIT Madras, I'm seeing a very good growth. And days are not far off. Maybe I don't know whether I'll see within my term as director. But there where every IIT, into at least 50% of the people will become entrepreneurs. The remaining 50% will join the companies incubated by IIT Madras.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Professor Kamakotti. I mean, just last one sentence, we're running out of time. On this IIT Zanzibar initiative.
So we are India, right? And we really, our India is known for our sharing of knowledge. And that's what we are all very proud of. So education has been something which is very close to our heart, and we believe it is our duty to whatever God has given. Many or almost all academicians in our country, we believe that whatever we have achieved is not ours. We believe in an Almighty who has provided this knowledge, this purpose. So this is the overall trend, and that's where when there was in the national education policy, this Vishwa Guru internationalization became very important. We thought we should also set up some foreign campus, and so we had 3 criteria. One thing is, number one, that country should need us. We don't want to go to a place where, because we are not trying to do business. So I've been very clear that we don't want any revenue flow back from that campus to IIT Madras. We want whatever is generated should be put there. Number one. So we were looking at a place where they need us. The second thing is that government should support us. And the school education system should be good, because we need to get candidates. So these 3, and we had just gone to Zanzibar. Our ambassador there was a very nice Vinay Pradhan. You may be knowing. It was very, very, very good.
So when are you starting?
November 1st is the class. So the campus has started.
Okay. Well,
So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a,
So that place we went, and immediately their team also came. Excellent support.
okay.
Imagine from the day where my minister, Dharmendra Pradhanji, our education minister, we had a discussion. Say today, it's exactly 6 months down the line, we got the cabinet approval for MOU signing, and within another 2 weeks, the Honorable External Affairs Minister went to Zanzibar and we signed it. And then immediately now 2 courses we are starting, BS in Data Science and AI and M.Tech in Data Science and AI.
Fantastic.
And in the next 3-4 years, we'll have at least 5 courses, 3 undergraduate and 2. They are very much interested in ocean engineering. They are very much interested in mining. The government there has been extremely supportive in any time.
Yeah, fantastic.
And this has become a very interesting thing. And Zanzibar is a very nice place.
I believe so, yeah.
And
it's very beautiful.
very, very hospitable people also. So this is...
So great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So thank you very, very much, Kama, for coming and to have you as director of the IIT Madras. I think IIT Madras is very fortunate and great to have such scientists and technocrats like you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Viewers, I hope that you enjoyed this discussion on technology security, its various dimensions, and the challenges and the good work that is being done in India, not just in IIT Madras, but across educational institutions by committed, passionate leaders such as Professor Kamakotti. But technology security today is not a peripheral issue anymore. With these words, thank you so much for joining us. Till we meet again, goodbye.